Now, do you think Bitcoin and Ethereum has bottomed here? If so, then which cryptos are we buying the dip on? Is this the time to getting on the dip? And will there be another blow off top after this? Or do we think that this is the top already? Well, let's go straight to the evidence, because today I'm going to bring to you what the whales are doing. That's the only thing that matters right now, to see what the Bitcoin and Ethereum whales are doing, because they're going to give us significant information, right, on where is the bottom and where this is all headed. Let's get straight into this. Look at this. This is Bitcoin realized profit and loss. What does that mean? As opposed to paper profit and paper loss, this is when they actually sell to take a profit, or actually sell to take that loss, or else it's a paper profit or paper loss. These are realized actual losses, excuse me. So the blue part is realized profit, red part is realized loss. And instantly, straight away, you will notice that there is basically this 1, 2, 3, and they mark out places when there are big spikes. When there are big spikes in these realized profits, and that means whales are selling. They're selling to realize, to take profit. Here was March 2024 last year, when a lot of whales were selling. That marked the Bitcoin top at 73K, right? And then we went sideways for 9 months. And then they sold again in May 2024 when Bitcoin was at 70K. And again, that marked the top for a few months. Now here is when Trump won the election, and this is leading up to the Trump inauguration. This is December, January of this year. And again, as early as December, a lot of whales were taking profits, realized profits, folks, realized profits. And we see that mark the top very early at around 105K. It marked the top, and then 108K, and then a month later, 109K, and eventually Bitcoin topped out. So, and even more, keep in mind that these red bars are when there's a realized loss, when whales sell at a panic loss, right? That doesn't happen very often, but look what happens when they do sell at a panic loss. So here was August the 8th, when the Japanese yen carry trade backfired, and there was a big crash in the stock market and in Bitcoin down to 49K. When that happened, basically, some whales panic sold as well and created this loss, right? Realized loss. They sold at a loss. And that marked very much the bottom of this pullback. And then Bitcoin went up from 49K. And here was April 7th of this year, right? 4 months ago, when the whales basically sold also once again at a massive loss. This was due to the Trump tariff, Liberation Day tariff battle war with the rest of the world. And again, when whales panic and sell, that leads to a bottom as well. So this is a very accurate signal. We must take this very seriously. And look at this. They've started selling again at a profit, right? Remember the last couple of times, like here, when they sold to take profit, right? It marked the top for a number of months. Now, I know I've been saying that we will have a blow-off top, and I think we top in September to November. I've said that many times. I can't guarantee I'm 100% correct, because judging by this chart, it's showing that we could possibly go into another 2, 3, 4, 5 month sideways consolidation, like what happened here, That's what this chart is suggesting, right? But however, if that happened, then my blow-off top theory is at least partially wrong. Then the top is not in September or November, October, because we don't have enough time. Then we need to pull back more and then go up again. So what I'm trying to say is basically we need to be careful, and I need to revise my theory if this thing keeps on playing out. Mind you, this chart, this graph on-chain data is about 3 or 4 days old, because see the price here is at 123K, and we haven't seen price pull back to 112K like it did yesterday on Saturday, August the 2nd. We don't have that part of the chart yet, right? So these two bars, we don't want to see that, these two bars of whales selling, but it's not as bad as here just yet. So maybe there's a chance we could still be okay. Another chart we want to look at is this realized profit by whales, right? Not just anybody, but actually by whales. And how does that affect the market? But before we answer that question, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo Jimenez use? Well, Pablo uses exchange that's non-KYC. That means you don't need to show your ID. That means even the exchange can't see who you are. That means the IRS can't see you, the tax office can't see you, FBI, CIA, nobody can see you, right? Total privacy. That's why I made this deal with them, and it's 20% bonus for every dollar you put in there. Putting $100, get 20 US dollars. Putting $1,000, get 200 US dollars bonus, right? And just by trading, win up to $18,000. Okay, this deal is for limited time only. Finishes on 12th of August. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then the link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. But if you're watching this on any other platform, that's okay. Just go and click on my profile page. And on there is basically my Stand link or link tree. And when you click on that, this should be the first deal that pops up. Okay, now let's get back to the markets. But remember, folks, this is only on the Pablo link. Only on the Pablo link. So one thing I want to show you guys now is the crypto funding rates. And as we can see, I've shown this chart a lot. As we can see here, there is a lot of greens on this chart. It hasn't gone wholly green yet. Not everything is green, right? But there's a lot of greens. Bitcoin hasn't gone much green, but Ethereum has. But however, it's not as green as it can be. These are 0.0024, 0.0034. The more green it is, then the more people are shorting. The more people are shorting, the more traders are shorting, right? Then it means the more likely, right, Bitcoin price or crypto price can actually bounce up, because that means the exchanges would like to do a short squeeze. However, look at something like ENA. ENA, for example, is very much being shorted. Like compare this to ETH. ETH and SOL has 0.008, 007, right? Whatever. ENA is 0.11, negative 0.13, negative 0.12, negative 0.13. These are heavily negative 0.16. These are heavily shorted, right? So I'm expecting short squeezes up in ENA. Not right away, but it's going to happen. So for the rest of the chart, we're not heavily green, heavily shorted just yet. If everything's this heavily shorted, then I would say very good chance we could, I'm going to buy and prices would just bounce up. So let's have a look at what the whales are telling us. Realized profits by whales, okay? Essentially, what's happening here is that the whales are basically, the blue is new whales and the red are old whales, right? It's usually more scary when old whales sell, because ask yourself this. When you see a wallet that's 7 years old or like 10 years old, and they bought Bitcoin when Bitcoin was like $500, $200 per Bitcoin, and they're selling, that's pretty scary. So as we can see, once again, this is March 2024 when Bitcoin hit 73K. We saw some mostly new whales selling. There's a lot of spike, and that told us the price was bottoming. And here we see this big red bar. This was when some old whales were selling at a loss. This is at a profit, right? Panic selling, then that told us that was the bottom. And now here, this was when, once again, in early December, when new whales were selling, and then old whales are selling, and that told us the top was in at around 108, 109K, and then we went down. And then look at this, when new whales are selling at a big loss, massive loss, panic. That was April 7th, and then boom, that marked the bottom, right? So here, once again, we don't want to be seeing these new whales selling, but they are, right? They are selling. So that's a warning signal. And I suppose in a way, prices have already pulled back because this chart is about 4 or 5 days old. And we can see since then that price have come down and hit 112K on Saturday, August the 2nd. So I'll try to get updates on where the whales are selling or buying now. But these are not good signals. Like that is already what we saw in early August or late July is already bigger than this selling that, made Bitcoin top at 73K. So once again, like even though I am been saying we should have a blow off top and it should happen where the top of Bitcoin should be in between September and November, I could be wrong, and I might be, my timing could be too early, or I can't be 100%, and I need to keep on looking for clues and evidence like this on chain of what the whales are doing, just in case I'm wrong. Okay, so let's have a look at another chart. Here are short-term holders of Bitcoin. Short-term holders, basically, when they sell, it's a good sign that that there's some panic, right, in the markets. So we've seen 3 big spikes. This is when short-term holders lost to exchange, right, in the last 24 hours. So when they're sending their coins to exchanges at a loss, right, chances are they're selling at a loss, Bitcoin. And here was a massive selling at a loss on July 15th, another massive selling at a loss at July 26th, and here was another massive, right, selling at a loss. And this time it was basically, this was around August the 1st. So we can see the price here. This was around 113K. It was Friday, and we didn't see the dip down to 112K just yet, right? Not just yet. But when we're seeing so much fear from the short-term holders, who usually manages to mistime the markets and time it wrong, then basically that argues for there's a chance that markets may have bottomed. And I know so far this sounds contradicting because we've got whales selling, right? That could indicate a top in price, but we've also got short-term holders selling in a panic that could indicate a bottom in price. And one more chart I want to show folks is the Bitcoin long-term holders. What are they doing? Well, this is their net position change in 30 days. So compared to 30 days ago, are they buying, adding more Bitcoin, or are they selling more Bitcoin? So, and here we can see that what they've done is green is when they've added more Bitcoin. Red is when they've got less Bitcoin than 30 days ago. So they've been adding Bitcoin, adding Bitcoin, and then when they've gone neutral to selling Bitcoin, and this is when they're becoming less and less bullish, and in fact they've became bearish at its maximum, which was in mid-December, and that's when Bitcoin price topped at 108K, right? That gave us the signal way before this double top 109K. So it worked well this time. And what about here? What about here? They're selling compared to 30 days ago, and they suddenly flip bullish, right? They're gaining. They're buying more Bitcoin compared to 30 days ago, buying more Bitcoin, and that was around August 7th, right? On August the 7th, they flipped bullish, and they became more and more bullish on April 7th this year, when the Trump tariff crashed to a bottom, right? Because the blue is Bitcoin price, and this is April 8th, April 9th, April 10th. Over the next 3 or 4 days, they became more and more bullish, accumulating more and more Bitcoin. And of course, that marked the bottom to Bitcoin right here. And up we go. But here's the thing. They've gone from accumulating 100K, here was 100K and 98K, to accumulating less, and then became sellers around 123K. And 123K, they became sellers, and now this chart is actually 2 days old. Now is Sunday, midday, 2 o'clock in the US. So right now price have pulled back to somewhere like this, 112K. So this, I assume, probably got a little bit larger. So this might seem like another negative signal, but I caution you this, right? When the chart goes from green, positive accumulation, to red, which is they start selling, that doesn't mean the top is in. See here, they went from green to red, right? And when it went red, Bitcoin was only at 70K or 67K, right? It was below 70K around here. And then they started selling more and more and more and more and more. It wasn't until here, after they peaked in their selling, that Bitcoin got to 108K, right? So if we're to compare here, then when the green turns into a little bit of red, then it's more like here. Then it's more like Bitcoin was still under 70K. And then it could have another big run, another 40K run to 108K. That's what happened here, right? So the market didn't top until this red actually fully went to its maximum, and then started pulling back. So here we could argue that yes, these long-term holders or whales have started, selling, but that early selling doesn't affect Bitcoin from pushing up, like what we saw here. So Bitcoin we can still see more and more selling here into September, into October, and Bitcoin can actually push up into that. So I wish there was a more clear-cut decision here. I don't have a clear-cut decision. I've seen some charts of whales selling. I've seen short-term holders in a panic, and I'm also seeing long-term holders starting to sell, but that doesn't mean Bitcoin has topped yet. So as I always say, don't be 100%, don't go all in. Because we can never be 100% sure. I'm just presenting you the facts of what's happening on chain with the whales. And I still think blow-off top is coming, but we just need to be careful. Okay, thank you for tuning in, guys. Catch you next time.